that's available. We're used to that when we travel to other countries. They thought about introducing
have a better chance of getting signal than those who live here permanently. Let's talk to Matthew Howett, who's a telecommunications analyst and is in our London studio. Good morning. How does this work? Why can people from abroad get better mobile phone signal coverage than we can?
What they're talking about is this thing called national roaming, which means that when you go to another country, your phone will sort of automatically pick up the strongest signal that's available. We're used to that when we travel to other countries. They thought about introducing this in the UK as a way to try and solve the problem of not having coverage in those rural areas in particular a couple of years ago, but they decided not to go down that path because it's quite a technically difficult solution and one that actually isn't a great experience for consumers. While it might work pretty well when you're on holiday for a couple of weeks, not using your phone so much, if you're using it all the time, your phone is constantly trying to find the strongest network, which would reduce the battery performance, for example, quite significantly.
But it wouldn't cost us anything if they all agreed to share their networks, would it?
Well, a lot of sharing does go on between the operators anyway as a way to try and improve coverage, particularly with the sites that they have around the country. The national roaming solution, which was the one that got discounted a couple of years ago, would only also have applied to voice coverage. It wouldn't have meant that we could use data, for example. And I think that was one of the fundamental flaws of it and why it didn't end up getting adopted.
Matthew, why do we have so many not spots?
Well, the UK, by its nature, is quite a difficult country to cover with a mobile signal. We've got lots of mountains, we've got lots of rural areas where it's difficult to put in the infrastructure to give everybody coverage. I think the good thing is that it is getting better. There are fewer of them today than there were in the past, and there are in fact, lots of activities being taken by all of the operators to improve things. They're putting in more sites, they're using new airwaves which travel further distances, they go through buildings better. All of those things are sort of coming down the line, if you like. It's just a question of when we can get them.
I mean, looking through the research, lots of the operators, the networks, say that they're spending, O2 says it's spending approximately £2 million a day on the network as it upgrades the 2G and 3G networks as well as rolling out 4G. Vodafone says its 4G network currently covers 95% of the UK population. I just wonder why in 2016 we're still having to see so much money spent on infrastructure that you'd expect we have in this day.
Well, the good thing about this industry is that it's constantly evolving. There are new technologies coming along all of the time, and so those operators are constantly, trying to get those into our hands as quickly as they can. And with 4G infrastructure, the airwaves operate in different frequencies, and that requires slightly different configurations where the physical sites are that we use to pick up the signal. So all of those things have got to be taken into consideration, and those are the sort of challenges that the operators are facing on a daily basis. Obviously, that's not, that doesn't matter if you're a consumer and you can't use your phone in one of those not spots. But it's quite a logistical nightmare for the operators to actually get a signal to you in the first place.
But I feel sorry for the consumers. Malcolm's written into us and says he has a contract with a mobile provider. He has had for nearly 2 years. He's complained about poor connection and service. He's in West Sussex. And then the mobile phone provider said, OK, yes, we do have a problem. They're upgrading or replacing a local mast. He's still waiting. He's saying, basically, this is disgraceful. The companies sell a service and they don't deliver. It's all very well them talking about what they're doing, but these are the basics of a service, surely.
At the end of the day, we're only good to the operators if we can use our phones. There's no point them putting a handset in our pockets if we can't use it. So their interest is to make sure that we've got coverage wherever we go. Arguably, there has been a bit of a disconnect between what the policy and what the regulators are doing and what is happening in practice. A good example of that is the fact that a lot of the time we've been targeting population coverage. That's where people live, rather than geographic coverage, which is the landmass of the UK. Being able to use your phone where you live, might have made sense at some point, but we're now travelling across the country. We expect to use our phones wherever we go, and so there's been a bit of a change only recently with operators like EE targeting a full sort of geographic rollout rather than just focusing on where people live.
Matthew Howett, thank you very much for talking to us, telecommunications analyst.